Good morning, everyone. My name is Raghav Jagannathan. You're here today to participate in this webinar, From Queries to Actions, Prompt Engineering and Agentic AI for Legal Teams, simplified with KLapper. Once again, my name is Raghav Jagannathan. I've been, just a quick intro about myself, I've been working with AI technologies since 2018. I'm an active speaker at a number of industry conferences, including ILTA, and recently at the SharePoint Symposium and the Copilot Symposium in Chicago last month. Also written a number of different thought leadership blogs and articles on ILTA, which I've let some links on here that you can look at, especially on AI and recently on generative AI and how law firms can benefit from it, both from an agentic AI perspective and generative AI. And I've also written a number of different articles on ILTA as well that you can scan all these QR codes. I'm also the founder and CEO of a company called KLST, which is a digital services company for law firms specializing in SharePoint technologies, implementation, and consulting services. And today I'm representing my software subsidiary, Cobot, and a product underneath that called KLapper, which is a private AI solution for law firms. So again, what is KLapper? KLapper is world's first private generative AI solution. We are the only platform in the market that actually deploys within the firm's Azure tenant, as well as can be used by non-technical people. So basically, it's a platform built for knowledge management and innovations team members. But at the heart of KLapper is security. So anything that KLapper surfaces, anything it learns through its intelligent connectors, as we'll talk about, at the heart of it is security. So KLapper mimics security, basically your DMS security that whatever security settings you have in your DMS, KLapper mimic that. In terms of before we get going more deeper into this webinar, we would like to open up a couple of polls, questions, just to get a sense of the audience in terms of what you guys are doing with generative AI. So feel free to answer those two questions as we open up those two polls while I continue to focus on some of these areas here. So once again, at a core, KLapper focuses on security. We basically only surface content within our platform based on what you can access in the respective platforms that KLapper's learned from. So if KLapper has connectors into iManage or NetDocs or SharePoint or any of the SQL connectors, we only surface data if you have access to that content in those respective DMS platforms. So it makes our platform truly unique in the perspective. KLapper seamlessly integrates in Microsoft 365, which means that as you build your intelligent agents with KLapper, which I'll show you a demo of, you can surface these agents and interact with them right within 365, which means that as you ask your Microsoft 365 Copilot about your emails, about the top 5 things you need to do, about the top 10 meetings that you need to have today, whatnot, you can also surface iManage intelligence, NetDocuments intelligence, SharePoint intelligence right within Copilot using our KLapper agent, which makes our platform incredibly powerful and possibly the only platform in the market that integrates with Copilot and helps you surface DMS intelligence while preserving your security settings at the DMS level. Once again, KLapper is a private AI solution, which means that anything that KLapper learns, anything that you upload into KLapper, stays in your Azure tenant. So nobody, including us as a vendor, has access to any of the content that you share with KLapper for it to learn data from. Which also means that a lot of these concerns around documents that are confidential documents that clients explicitly ask firms not to train the generative AI toolsets with, that may not apply to KLapper because KLapper is effectively an extension of your Microsoft 365 platform. And the last one, not the least, KLapper has intelligent connectors that basically stops people from downloading documents and uploading into the generative AI toolset, which almost every single generative AI tool out there does. With KLapper, there's no need for that. You can simply use our iManage connector, connect to iManage, point, click, and configure a workspace or a folder or a group of folders, and KLapper can just learn from the data set. It can simply read the documents, including the metadata, including the folders, including anything, any content you ask to learn real time from that low source. So there's no need for the document to be downloaded from iManage and uploaded into KLapper. And the same thing applies to net documents. The same thing applies to SharePoint, including lists as well. KLapper also has agentic AI capabilities, which I'll show you today, where KLapper can automate administrative tasks, like, for example, time entry or support ticket management. So we'll show you some examples there. So on that note, I'm going to quickly go to a demo phase here. So here, what you're seeing is the KLapper dashboard. So again, KLapper, the user interface of KLapper is incredibly simple. So we keep it really straightforward. There's no need for you to go through extensive training and user guides and whatnot. If you want to create an agent, an assistant, or a chatbot, you simply click on Add New Assistant. It's that simple. With KLapper, you have the ability to create agents. Agents or assistants are basically sandbox apps. These are no-code apps that does one or more things. So any knowledge that an app is trained on, any skills that the app can perform are limited to that app alone. So we call them assistants within KLapper. They also go by different names like agents in different platforms, or simply called chatbots. But basically what you're seeing here is an agent a dashboard. Before the demo, I built a number of different agents here. One of the agents I have pre-configured for this demo is called AI Legal Assistant. So one of the things, as I talked about as part of my introduction, is that because KLapper is a private AI platform, it deploys within your Azure tenant, so it seamlessly can connect to your internal applications. The applications could be iManage Work Server, if you're on iManage Work Server, obviously NetDocuments Cloud, or SharePoint on-premises, or even internal SQL databases through our SQL connectors and data lake connectors. So here, for example, right within this assistant, you have something called a knowledge builder. With knowledge builder, you have the ability to train KLapper on data set using our connectors. Now, obviously, this session, this webinar is all around prompt engineering. So I'm going to touch base on our key module here, which is our prompt builder module. So again, just to kind of stitch the connect the dots here, a knowledge builder module helps you connect knowledge sources, aka iManage, SharePoint, NetDocs, and so on and so forth, or simply knowledge that lives on your computer that you can upload into KLapper, all seamlessly through this UI. Our prompt builder module helps you to build and manage all sorts of prompts across your firm right within this module called prompt builder. Once you enter prompts within this prompt builder module, it can be shared with all your users within your firm. And I often get asked this question, so what am I sharing these prompts with you as a vendor? No, you're not, because KLapper is a private AI solution. So anything that you do within KLapper stays within KLapper. It is not and stays behind your Azure tenant virtual firewall, which means that nobody is able to access this content except for people within your firm. So a prompt builder module helps you manage all prompts, from system instructions that are instructions that you send with content when you train data within KLapper, which I'll show you in a second, or these prompts can also be used by end users to interact with KLapper agents. So you simply create the prompt right here using our simple prompt add functionality or edit functionality, where you can simply add the prompt and mark it for reuse or end user use right from here. So in this way, you build a very powerful prompt repository for your entire firm that you can then share between all the agents that gets deployed in Teams or SharePoint and whatnot. And you see a live demo of that. So once you build a KLapper agent, going back to the assistant builder platform, going back to our assistant here, once you build the assistant or the agent, you can then deploy this agent. Because this is an app builder platform, nobody can access the agent when you're in this platform. For your end users, your attorneys to access this agent, you have to deploy that to Microsoft Teams, or deploy to Microsoft SharePoint, or deploy to Copilot. So I'll show you some examples of agent in action using prompts, and then I'm going to connect the dots in terms of how this is all working together. So before I show you a demo of this specific agent deployed in Teams and SharePoint and Copilot, I just want to give you a quick preview of the type of training that I've done on this agent. So through the My Computer connector, I've connected a number of different documents that lives on my computer or network shares with this specific agent. So this agent has gone in and learned all the data. Again, what learning in KLapper means is basically it literally opens a document, reads it inside out, reads the metadata around the document if it exists, and simply stores the vectorized version and the tokens in its private database that also lives inside your Azure tenant. We also have web connectors and file connectors. I don't have any sources here, but you can simply point KLapper to a website or a file URL, and you can real-time learn it. There's no need to download those files and folders into your local machine. We have the SharePoint connector, and you can see here, I've trained it on a bunch of SharePoint lists. So in fact, we are the only generative AI platform in the market that helps you learn SharePoint list content. So Copilot obviously has the ability to add an agent to a document library, but right now there's no such capability with SharePoint lists. So we are the only KLapper agents can learn directly from a SharePoint list with all sorts of different SharePoint column types, like for example, people lookup column or external lookup columns. With NetDocuments connector, it can simply directly connect to NetDocuments, and you can add a source from right within NetDocuments to KLapper without the need to download any content. So just like that, I connected and I can browse the NetDocuments source here real time, and I can find the content. Obviously, if you're not a NetDocuments customer, if you're an iManage customer, we have our iManage connector, which does the exact same thing. With our iManage connector, you can simply browse the source that you're looking for, find the workspace that you want, and simply add the folders and files that you want KLapper to learn from. Just like that, I can click on submit, and KLapper will learn all the data. So that's what I've done here. So I've trained this assistant. I have a bunch of sources here. One is called Code Rulings in iManage for the purpose of this demo. The exact same thing applies for NetDocuments as well. So if you're a NetDocuments customer, you can connect the dots in terms of how that might work. But basically, you add the sources to KLapper, and KLapper learns the data. Not only learns the data inside the documents, it also learns all the metadata around the document. And then what I simply did was I deployed this, just to save on time, to all those different channels. So first, let's look at our SharePoint. SharePoint is one of the topmost collaboration platform used by more than 90% of the AmLaw 100 firms. So let's look at how an agent built with KLapper, in this case, AI Legal Assistant, that's deployed in a SharePoint online search as a search extension, basically, an extension of the SharePoint search bar. To do this demo, I'm going to simply switch over to this specific internet example. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask it a simple question. The question is, what is the work from home policy? Because KLapper was trained on a bunch of documents from within our within the agent, where we've uploaded our employee handbook and IT security policy documents and so on, KLapper is simply able to answer that question immediately. No giving hyperlinks for you to click on and then click and open the document to read it and so on. So that's an example of KLapper agent, which is this specific agent deployed in a SharePoint search bar. So using the power of prompts, I have the ability to interact with it. But what if I did not know what sort of prompts I need to use? So with our agent deployed as a chatbot in SharePoint, I can simply use our prompt builder. So I can see here I can simply send a prompt called help, or I can click on this help window where all my prompts that are being marked as end user prompts automatically get surfaced here. And this is the power of the KLapper prompt builder module, because it can really guide the user through the journey of how they interact with that agent. For example, here, if I'm looking for a specific prompt, let's say around document extraction analysis, I can ask that kind of question, and instead of saying identify and list the main topics and themes discussed in the document, I'm simply going to say, okay, let's see employee handbook. Let's go back and look at how exactly that worked. So with the prompt builder module, you have the ability to, you can see here, I have a couple of prompts on document extraction. And what this document extraction prompts do is basically I've defined these prompts all within the prompt builder module. And as I use these prompts, it automatically gets tracked within the usage part of KLapper. So for example, I can see which users have added this prompt as a favorite. and which knowledge base this prompt might be associated with, right? So at a glance view of how this prompt is being used across many different assistants. Remember, KLapper is an assistant builder platform, meaning that you might have several assistants in your builder platform. So with the prompt builder module, you have the ability to not only manage your prompts, you can also see who is using the prompt, who's marked it as a favorite, which knowledge base is the prompt associated with, so that you can track it down in terms of its usage. And once a prompt is being managed here, you also have the ability to use those prompts in the respective channels, like the SharePoint channel or the Teams channel. So let's look at this same KLapper assistant, but basically working in Copilot. All right. So as you can see here, this specific assistant I can deploy to as a Copilot agent. So one of the things that often we are asked is, okay, so Copilot I'm using it in my firm. We are using it for extracting intelligence from our Microsoft 365 platform. So how does KLapper fit in there? How does a third-party agent solution fit in there? So what KLapper does is basically it leverages a technology called agent-to-agent conversation. With agent-to-agent conversation, KLapper can basically communicate, or Copilot can communicate seamlessly with KLapper. So from an end-user perspective, it feels like they're just interacting with one agent, which is Copilot. So you can interact with Copilot using the Copilot desktop app right here. So you can see here, prior to the demo, I simply asked a question, which is like find Jack's docs for this specific matter number. Right within Copilot, you can see that KLapper, which is this specific assistant deployed within my Copilot infrastructure, I have the ability to interact with that agent as if it's all part of Copilot. And what this does is surfacing document intelligence from iManage right within Copilot. And the same thing applies to net documents as well. I can easily ask a question from net documents here. Let me show you an example of that. For example, if I just go back to the Copilot screen right here, and I invoke my agent, let's say your firm agent could be called your firm name, let's say Contoso agent or Contoso AI or some fancy term like Steve, you can call it. Basically, the idea is that you can invoke a third-party agent in Copilot just by naming the agent with an ampersand, with an at symbol. And once you invoke the agent, you can simply ask a question like, do we have a specific NDA for a specific matter? And this query would basically help Copilot interact with our agent and surface that intelligence from the respective DMS platform. In this case, it's surfacing that intelligence from net documents. So the example I showed you before from iManage, how do I know that? So when I click on that URL, you can see that it directly goes into NetDocs and finds that information for me and surfaces it. So once again, the idea behind this is with KLapper Copilot integration and using prompt engineering, you have the ability to use smart prompts to basically find content or intelligence or surface intelligence from your DMS, but again, with security in mind, which means that you can only access content that you're allowed to see in your net documents, iManage DMS, within KLapper, and by default, as an extension within Copilot. So at this point, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up one more poll, just to get a sense of what are the features so far you've seen in KLapper that you're excited about. And we have a couple of other questions. If you can please answer that, I'll appreciate that. So while you take time to answer those poll questions, let me show you some additional capabilities of KLapper, especially around prompt engineering. So going back to our prompt builder module here. So you can see here within the prompt builder module, I have many different types of prompts, right? So one of the prompts I like is the transcription prompt. So you can see here, I've created a transcription prompt that is a pretty elaborate prompt that talks about, basically saying that this specific one, which talks about creating a transcribed structured meeting minutes and so on and so forth. I have other prompts here. Let me show you. Which talks about, again, extracting some specific data points from the minutes that I'm uploading into this KLapper agent. So basically, I'm going to use this power of this prompts to basically create my minutes document. All right, so let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, I showed you these prompts. Now remember, an agent, when you build a KLapper, You can use this agent not only in Microsoft Teams, but also in Copilot and SharePoint and so on. But you can also use this agent as an iPhone app, as an Android app, as a Windows app, and as a Word app. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch over to Microsoft Word. And you can see here I've selected my agent, and I'm invoking the KLapper app within my Word document. And what I've done here is I've simply selected from my list of prompts, which, as you can see, my prompt is right here. And from the list of prompts, I'm asking it to basically convert. It's a long prompt. It says convert meeting minutes document transcription into structured meeting minutes, focus on extracting key points, and so on and so forth. It's giving very specific prompt that my KLapper prompt builder that's stored within the KLapper prompt builder. As an end user, I'm using that prompt within my Word document to basically extract out the key points from the meeting minutes. Let me show you how the meeting minutes document looks. So while I'm submitting this for processing, my meeting minutes document, just for you to appreciate, this document is actually in French. So KLapper has multi-language capabilities, which means that it can actually answer questions. It can learn data from a French document, this example, and it can create answer questions in English, or it can answer question in your language of choice. Could be Spanish, could be French, or could be whatever language is of choice for you. And we support up to 80 plus languages within KLapper. So the data that you train KLapper with could be completely independent of the data that you query KLapper with. And the prompts could be in any language as well. So you could be having prompts in a prompt builder module, basically in English, or in French, or in Italian, or Arabic, and so on and so forth. And you can simply surface those prompts in all these different channels. One of the channels was Copilot I showed you, SharePoint I showed you, and now I'm surfacing this in Microsoft Word. So just like that, I had an empty document when I started this conversation, and it went in and summarized the meeting minutes. Even though the minutes was in French language, it summarized that for me exactly using the prompts that I gave it. And that's the power of prompt engineering. So the ability to basically interact with KLapper, or helping the users or guiding the users how to interact with the agent within your favorite channel. And the channel could be Microsoft Word in this example, or Copilot, or frankly, any piece of software that we support, including iPhone, Android, and Windows apps. So hopefully this is useful in terms of how you can manage prompts in a central location with a prompt builder module. All your prompts nicely marked as either an instruction prompt or an end user prompt, and then you simply expose these prompts within the respective channels where work happens, including Copilot. And users can use these prompts to create their own prompts. For example, I use the prompt, a transcription prompt, and then I simply use a different word here to get data from a meeting minutes document that I've uploaded into that assistant. And in that way, I'm able to transcribe that and get the data I'm looking for, even if the document was not in English, it was in French. So that was our prompt engineering module in action. In the remaining minutes I have, I'm going to show you our agentic AI capabilities and how you can build very powerful administrative workflows using our workflow builder, our skill builder within KLapper. So to show you that, I'm going to go back to my dashboard, go back to my AI legal assistant, my demo assistant that I'm using it for this webinar. And notice how I showed you guys how the skill knowledge builder, how it has all these different connectors to connect to all these different knowledge sources and so on. I also showed you the prompt builder where you have the ability to manage all your system prompts and your end user prompts all in one location. But what I did not show you is our skill builder. Our skill builder is a unique piece of functionality. With skill builder, you can give these agents, these assistants, abilities to do stuff on behalf of the attorney, on behalf of your end users. For example, you can see here I have many different skills. I have support ticket skills, I have matter skills, and so on and so forth. So basically, when you add a skill to an assistant, all of a sudden, the system becomes a lot more smarter compared to how when it was born. In this specific example, I have specific skills here. One skill, such skill I have is a timesheet skill, and the other 3 skills. To show you a demo of this, I'm just going to simply preview this. So you can preview an assistant before you deploy that assistant in the respective channel right here in your system builder platform. So for example, you can see here I've got timesheet skill assigned to this. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm using a third-party application called Harvest Time. So Harvest is the application that we are demoing to basically do a timesheet on behalf of the attorney. It doesn't have to be Harvest. It could be in-tap time. It could be add or night timekeep. As long as the application supports microservices, KLapper has the ability, or web services, KLapper has the ability to connect to that and perform that action on behalf of the attorney. So in this example, I'm just going to simply say, can you enter 3 hours today for me for a specific matter that I'm working on? And also specify the task. So simply by delegating that specific matter client number, I have to specify the date here, but the point is that it automatically knows that I have to go and create a timesheet entry for that person within that specific application. Okay, let me show you a separate example of this in action. So let's go back here and let's try this. So we're gonna mimic the same prompt, but as an end user. So I showed that in the bot builder and in a test environment. So for example, if I come in here and ask the same question here. So the KLapper, this agent is basically deployed in SharePoint as a chatbot for your end users to interact with. And basically KLapper goes in and starts processing the data, and it should go do my timesheet in Harvest Time right now. So basically, as it kind of thinks through that, you would see that there you go. It adds a timesheet there, and I can go and look at it just by clicking on this button, which is View Time Entry, and you can see that it did 3-hour time entry for me for the project code in this third-party application called Harvest. So this is an example of agentic, an agent, not to overuse the word agentic AI, an agent basically performing tasks on behalf of me. Also in the background, you can see one more agentic behavior in action. For example, here before the demo, I asked a question from our 3 database, a 3 data warehouse, that I'm the attorney on a specific matter that I'm working on, one of the timekeepers or the partner on this matter, and I simply asked the question, who's the billing attorney, what is the status of this matter in the SharePoint search bar. And KLapper has the ability to, using a SQL connector and a Fabric connector to data lake, it has the ability to connect the data set and answer the question, again, with security in mind. So if you don't have access to the matter, it's not going to answer the question for you. So with these powerful connectors, with our web services connector, our universal web connector, our iManage connector, our NetDocs connector, our SharePoint connector, SQL connector, and so on and so forth, KLapper has the ability to kind of do stuff on behalf of you. So in this example, it was able to query on behalf of me a 3 database and get back the result. KLapper can also proactively deliver these alerts to you. So as part of your daily routine, KLapper can do like a top 5 things for you automatically in Teams or automatically in Copilot. So with the ability to do proactive alerts, KLapper can now give these alerts to you, serve it to you, as opposed to you asking a question through a SharePoint search bar that we have done. So there's one more example I wanted to show you, but because I'm short on time here, there was an IT support ticket example I want to show you where we wanted to kind of tell KLapper, hey, I'm having an IT support issue, and KLapper creates a support ticket for me in ServiceNow, but we'll park that for the next webinar. So at this point, given we have a minute left, I'm going to open up a final poll so that you guys can respond to this specific final poll questions. And at this point, I'm just going to kind of monitor the Q&A for any questions that might be posted here. So one of the first question I'm seeing in the chat here is does KLapper deploy within our Microsoft Azure tenant? Yes. So KLapper is a private AI solution, meaning that it deploys right within your Microsoft Azure tenant. So it's not hosted by us. So KLapper is a software that deploys inside your Microsoft Azure tenant. So anything that KLapper can learn from or can access within your tenant is basically within the realms, within the firewall itself, an extended network within Microsoft 365 and Azure. The other question we've been asked here is, are you able to send a copy of the presentation? Absolutely. So we are more than happy to send you a copy of the presentation, including the recording. They will be shared with you via email to all the attendees, as well as people who couldn't make it. But feel free to take a screenshot of this specific slide here. If you're interested to have a follow-up discussion on KLapper or a more personalized private demo, then please scan the QR code there so you can set up a time with me. As well as my contact details are here. I also see one more question posted. I know we are over time here. Does it get covered by M365 E5? So KLapper is a software that we sell and provide in the market. So you'll be licensing KLapper from us separately. Copilot, if you're getting as part of your M365 E5 license, or you pay additional cost for that, KLapper agents can be surfaced within Copilot and can extract intelligence from either iManage or NetDocs with security in mind. So KLapper is not included in the E5, E3 license of Microsoft. It's an additional software that you would typically purchase. All right, at this point, unfortunately, we're out of time here. I thank you so much for your time for attending this webinar. We'll be sharing the recording of this session as well as the presentation. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.